Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to WCG 2019 Hearthstone coverage. My name is Rapid. I'm back here with Dr. J. We're bringing you the final matches of Hearthstone for Day 2, which means we are about to finish out our round-robin matches and finally decide which players are going to advance on to the playoffs tomorrow.
Yeah, we are getting down to the nitty-gritty here, and it'll be 4 players moving on tomorrow to compete for that massive prize pool, with first place being $25,000. So it's really exciting. I believe, honestly, it's looking really great for China right now because both Chinese players, I think, are at the top of the list right now. But we're going to have to do 2 more games to find out who's making it through.
That's right. Anything can still change. Honestly, if you get out of the round-robin group stage with maybe 3 or 4 wins or 3 or 4 losses, that's really cutting it close. So you really want no more than like 2 losses to guarantee yourself those top spots. And I think even we have a couple of players with some good tiebreakers or some good head-to-head records who have 3 losses that are still probably going to advance. But it starts to get very, very close. So even with 2 games left, anything can happen. Yeah,
but we were talking to some of the players. There might actually be a 4-way tie for 4th place. And at that point, you have to rely on your tiebreakers.
Of course.
And you better have hoped that you were beating the players that were doing really well.
The head-to-head matchups are going to be incredibly important, and hopefully we can get you that data. And here is the data for how things stand coming into the last few games that we have left to play. China, you're right. They're killing it up at the top with As Before and Reconnect in 1st and 3rd place, respectively. The big surprise for me is Exigo from Hungary is up there in 2nd place. I really did not expect him to perform this well, but he is really come out swinging.
Yeah, he's been doing really well so far. He's been piloting the Rogue deck, and we can see just how strong Rogue has been. I believe 2 of the top 4 players right now have brought Rogue, so that just goes to show you how strong of a class it is right now.
Well, not only the class, but I feel like just the other classes that have been brought by other players really haven't matched up the way that they the way that we might have thought that they would have. So let's get into it. We've got our first game in our first series starting right now. It's Akumaker from Down Under. He's going to be playing Exigo.
So we've seen the first couple of turns have gone by here, and it looks like Exigo has a pretty strong start so far. But Akumaker's hand is looking pretty clean. He has the Giant on 4 if he chooses to do so.
Right.
Still at 30 life, and then when he wants to, he will have a huge mana Cyclone turn.
Yeah, I was worried about the Giant there for a second, but there's no Conjurer's Calling in hand, so we've got to wait maybe a few minutes for that. Sometimes you just play it for pressure, but the Cyclone is going to be insane. He's on the coin too, so it just gets even better.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Akumaker decides to go for the Cyclone turn first, especially with how powerful the turn is, because if you play the Giant now, you kind of are accepting that it's dying. But what this is telling me is Akumaker says, if my opponent is trading their entire board and using their face to clear this Giant, I don't even have the Conjurer's Calling. Like, this is good for me right now if my opponent is using the resources they have on board.
Yeah. The only downside for me is that sometimes Mountain Giants kind of become dead cards later on because you're going to be expending your hand. Maybe you get a bunch of the cards back with a Mana Cyclone or something, but just putting this out here is going to remove a lot of that early game pressure, although, man, sometimes it's just crazy what Rogue can do. Already 6/6s on, or 3/3s on the board.
Yeah, so there we see Exigo use a little bit of his resources, which I think is what Akumaker was hoping for now. Does pick up the Conjurer's Calling, so it's kind of one of those things where, if he didn't answer the Giant, Exigo's kind of, asking to get Conjurer's called. But right here, now this is
the
pop-off turn.
Hold on to your butts. This is going to be a big one. All right, so we're 1. Let's count it with me. 2. We're looking for another one. 3. This is so crazy. I love it. 4.
Can even play the Sea Giant as well.
5. Oh, yeah, that's what he's going for. This is so crazy to me. And away we go.
And that's pretty good, too. I mean, 2 Power of Creations for the late game, an Arcane Intellect to get the cycle going, and then even if that wasn't enough, there's more cycle and more minion generation.
I'm not really sure if Akumaker really expected the counter Sea Giant on the other side, but at the very least, that's going to be able to be traded. At the very most, let's see what this Conjurer's Calling can get done. I am so excited. This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
This play is just so natural. 2
No! Okay, sorry if I blew out people's eardrums there. I was not expecting that, but with a freeze as well, all of a sudden Exigo went from a smiley face to a big old frowny face. Where's my vanish when I need it?
I know, right? This is when you need the Etherolachian to vanish, but at least with the Goblin Prank taken earlier, he can go ahead and clean one of them up. The Bloods getting shuffled into the deck won't be too relevant unless for some crazy reason they get drawn back-to-back.
Yeah, if you draw back-to-back Bloods, like, it's not your day, okay?
Yeah, no.
Just take it and go home. We're sorry it happened. But
another Frost Nova as well. I mean,
this is insanity. There's no more ability to clear this. There's no like rush out of the hand. I mean, what's the best case scenario? Maybe you play Leroy to deal with this?
You have to play Leroy to deal with this. If you do not deal with this now, you are dead on the following turn. So Leroy, typically used for a powerful burst turn, is going to need to be used to clear off that Hakar just so that Exigo can live.
Well, I mean, even now, you got to start thinking about those Corrupted Bloods because you draw maybe 1 or 2. You're just moments away from death. There's only 9 health right now. There's not lethal here, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6. I don't think he's got it.
Yeah, you've got 4 with the ping, and then if you get 2 bananas, that's 6. You could technically try and draw for something, but there's not really too much burn damage.
You might also be able to Conjure's Calling into charge cards, too.
That's true as well.
But I'm not sure. I don't know every Hearthstone card. Okay, get off my back, Dr. J.
You should. You should have studied all of them.
I'm so sorry. I can't predict every single 2-drop that's out there. I mean, there's also
gills.
There's I was looking for like a magic trick, but I don't think we have one. Research project, I guess, would be the way to do it. But I think, honestly, the Giant and more freeze pressure. Honestly, the amount of freeze that akumaker has had just back to back to back is insane.
Yeah, it's been at least, what, 3 Frost Novas in a row?
Yeah, it's 3 Frost Novas, yeah.
That's honestly what this deck does well. It's kind of like, it's a different version of Freeze Mage. You Frost Nova with a big minion and then just kill him with that instead of like Frost Noving to the later stages of the game. And right now, Exigo playing this Etherolaki just to find an answer for this Giant, but none of these are going to do it.
Yeah, if only you were... I remember Cannon Barrage Rogue when that was a thing for a brief moment before it was snuffed out like the dinosaurs after an asteroid strike. It was there for a second. I mean, the only thing I'm thinking is maybe like Wanted, but like nothing does enough damage to make it doable.
I'm trying to think if you can go Wanted, Snip Snap, but I think you have to go for the Shiv here. Maybe hope to find something like, you know, a Sap, maybe another Evil Cable Rat. At least you can go Evil Cable Rat. The only issue is you can't play an Etherolaki if you pick it up.
I think we're going for it. Hitting him straight in the dome. That's going to do it. akumaker. A player that is already, for the most part, eliminated, taking out the Hungarian player who's in second place.
Yeah, Exigo.
Honestly, that does more for... akumaker is like really kind of spoiling here because every loss, every win for Exigo really matters because he's, you know, perched precariously in that second place spot.
The crazy thing is that there might be like 5 to 6 players, or I think 5 players with a 4-3 record. So 2 4-3s will go through, and then there will be like 3 4-3s that don't go through. That's actually insane.
I can't believe how crazy this is. Usually with round robins, at the end of the day, maybe there's like one tiebreaker, but you know, it's got a head-to-head victory or something like that. But now we've just got so many players clogging the middle that we don't know what to expect. So let's get into game number 2. We're starting from 0-0 this time, and checking out the mulligans for a brief moment there until we are back into it. It looks like just from looking at things that, I mean, that's a pretty sweet hand for akumaker with double sorcerers.
Yeah, double Sorcerer's Apprentice really needs to find something like Arcane Intellect or something like the Mana Cyclone to keep the draw going. The Sorcerer's Apprentice are great, but if you don't have anything to couple them with, it can get a little dicey. This is really good for Exigo, though, as he does have the coin, and the coin is extremely important in this matchup. I mean, not only do you enable Miscreant, but you also deny the coin from your opponent to where they can't get a cheaper Giant down earlier, or they can't do as crazy of a turn with their Cyclones.
Well, just the ability to curve out is so insane for Exigo. He's going to have like 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up. And I mean, even with a Sap, if there's any potential for anything like a turn 4 or turn 5 Giant, he just deals with it instantly. And there's so much pressure on the board now that all of a sudden you have to start thinking about using your freezes early on before there's really any way to combo with them.
So Shadowflame there was a very interesting take. It can answer wide board states, like for instance if the Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mirror Images come down. It won't necessarily answer any taller minions, but the reason Exigo went for that was because he's already got the Walk the Plank. He doesn't necessarily need another answer like the Unleash the Beast in order to try and answer something taller. He wanted something for a turn like this, where, you know, Akumaker may just try and go for a Mana Cyclone turn, go wide, and the next thing you know, all he needs to do is either play one of his lackeys or just go ahead and Shadow Flame one of the minions that survive, and he clears the majority of the board.
You know, he's going to have an almost entirely new hand here with the free Mana Cycle coming out. I think this is 5 cards? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, only 4. Anyway, but he also has those very cheap, unexpected results. And I guess there's no spell power or anything crazy, but it's going to be a big board if he wants it to be.
Here's the funny thing. Akumaker actually cleared off the Evil Miscreant,
yeah,
which didn't play around the Shadow Flame. If he had cleared off
oh
the
my
Blink
god,
box,
you're right.
he would have actually played around it.
And now that it's a brand new board state for Akumaker, he not only has the expensive unexpected experiment or results. Let's see what he gets off of it. Oh, that's actually not bad. The Fairy Dragon might be hard to clear. Oh, actually,
another Sorcerer's Apprentice as well.
I guess that's pretty close to the best possible outcome. Now, obviously, it's not like it's incredibly threatening at this point. And actually, Betrayal won't be the worst card. The only problem is you can't really. I guess what do? You play it on the Armani Berserker.
Yeah, you could play the Betrayal. I think Exigo is going to want to hold the Betrayal just in case there is something like a
big giant turn.
Conjurer's Calling, or maybe Conjurer's Calling on some more threatening minions. I mean, there's a second Betrayal there. If he does decide to go for it, he could just pick it up.
I think the Abyss probably more
the
versatile.
Eviscerate's a little bit more versatile because it can clear up a minion now if he chooses to do so, or it can be burn damage later on because he doesn't really have much substance in his hand. It's mostly just kind of either draw or burn or removal. So he's going to need to try and figure out some game plan where he gets in enough burn to try and end the game with something like the Eviscerate.
This game is actually a little bit more remarkably slow than most of the games that we see. And it actually looks like he's not saving the Abyss for damage later on a big burn turn, choosing to use it to get back to board state.
Exigo does know that the 4 cards in hand right now, or at least 3 of them, I believe, are cards from Mana Cyclone. So he knows right now that unless there's something like an Arcane Intellect, he's pretty safe to try and, fight for a control route. Because, a Mountain Giant can't come down. The Hound size is too low. Sea Giant is out of the possibility right now. So if he just kind of takes the game maybe a little bit slower with his Novice Engineer, he can get there with the value route.
So what are we looking at here? I mean, all 3 of those cards had potential, but I think just more and more Conjurer's Callings just allow him the best possible scenario. Because I guess we're looking at probably Luna's next turn.
Yeah, probably Luna's. Luna's is so powerful, especially since Akumaker's at a very high life total.
Yeah.
All it takes for him is to get something like the Luna's off and then draw either Stargazer Luna or the other Arcane Intellect, and then he just starts to get free Giants on the board. Conjurer's Calling. It is absolutely disgusting.
And it's kind of hard. It was basically impossible pre-buff for you to play Lunas because you'd need to be in such a good board state that you can just waste 7 mana. And maybe you make it back afterwards, but now, especially with the board state in such a good position, I love it. I'll counter your mage spell with my mage spell. But now we're starting to look for a few of these crazy magic turns. I mean, maybe Research Project if you want it, just for more draw, because once this Lunas comes down, your hand is just going to be so valuable.
I think it's going to be Research Project here because you can go this. I don't necessarily think you play the Research Project now because you don't want to give your opponent those 2 extra cards.
That's right.
But next turn, you'll be able to go Research Project, hopefully draw one of the Giants, and then you can just go off with both the Conjurer's Callings.
It's going to be so crazy. All right, so now we've got Exigo starting to put his game plan back together. It was hard for him to get the board or keep the board earlier, but now he's going for big lackey turns, and he also has a lot to deal with the Giants when they come down. Betrayal, Sap, Walk the Plank, it's all in his hand.
Yeah, he's got the answers, however. If Akumaker hits a really good Research Project here, it's going to be quite hard to deal with all of these minions.
Well, here we go. Going to get some big draws in. There it is, a 0-mana Giant. Banana Buffoon, of course, great for something else, but let's see what's coming down here. Nothing too insane just yet. I mean, those are big dudes, but with the Frost Nova, they are going to be very hard to clear, or they would be hard to clear if there weren't so many answers in Exigo's hand.
Yeah, the Sap and Walk the Plank work really nice here. The Betrayal, you can see Akumaker place the Banana Buffoon in the middle so that Betrayal isn't necessarily a possibility to clear off one of the minions.
Really good.
And this is actually just a pretty decent turn for Exigo here as he can play a huge Edwin Banquet.
I'm waiting for it. What are we at, 10-10?
I think it's 8-8.
You are correct. I should never doubt you. I'm just like, I never learned how to do addition in school, so it's time for you to shine. Let's see what we were getting on the other hand, or on the other side. What was he looking for there?
He's looking to give his opponent Doomsayer right now.
Yeah, I thought he might be doing that, but I mean, that's he went for it again and didn't get it. That's going to do it. Wow, that Edwin coming down on the other side. Hard to deal with it, and that is going to do it for that game. What really struck you as kind of the big turning point there? Was it the ability to deal with all those giants?
It was the ability to deal with all the giants as soon as that Luna's Pocket Galaxy plus the giants came down. And then the Mana Cyclone, although it was fairly strong, it didn't have any backup. So a lot of times with the deck, you want to make sure that you have your big giant and then the Cyclone turn afterwards to where you can freeze the board. Maybe you can extra burn to end out the game. With that game, it was like the Cyclone turn happened, but there was no substance behind it. I mean, cool, you had a Frost Nova, but nothing to play with it.
Well, now we're getting into game number 3. This is the deciding game in this match. It's tied up at 1-1. Let's see what we have in hand. Okay, wow, akumaker. Doesn't get much better than that. Here's the elemental evocation. That's about the only way you can make it any better. And actually, if you look at Exigo's hand, he does not have that much. I mean, I guess maybe you got the SI agent as a way to deal with something early with backstab, but it's going to take a while for Exigo to ramp up.
Yeah, he kind of just has to play this SI7 agent just as a 3/3 to get it on the board. I mean, it dies to something like a Frostbolt. It's not the greatest. You kind of want to get use out of your cards.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes it's better just to play something rather than, give an open board, especially to Mage, where your goal is to kill them. You need to put pressure on. If you don't, you are going to lose the game.
This is one of those plays that if you're a brand new player to Hearthstone, it feels really bad to do. And maybe it feels bad as a pro player too, but your mission, like you said, you have to get that board presence coming in. But the Waggle Pick draw is not bad, but with a Shark coming through, I mean, this is really going to set up for maybe potentially, like I don't know, something like an Edwin. Why do you think you play the Shark there?
You want to play the Shark there just to kind of get on the board, maybe make your opponent play a little bit more awkwardly. But it's mostly because you have the Edwin Van Cleef, and you're really relying on that card to carry you next turn. So you're relying on going something like Backstab, Betrayal, or maybe if you pick up another card, you can play that as well. You really want to get the Shark down as early as possible. And it looks like this is about to be an insane turn. He's going to go ahead and do this, coin out, and then Conjurer's Calling the Giant. Now, you may think, well, why didn't he want to do the Mana Cyclone turn? It's more important to make sure that you get 2 minions. The reason being is that if your opponent has Walk the Plank and you play the 1 giant, you are so far behind at that point. Yeah. Whereas now, if they have Walk the Plank, well, there's still another giant they have to answer because they know you have Conjurer's Calling.
So, I mean, if you go for the Betrayal option as a way to kind of help clear this up, you still have the ability to play that big Edwin, which maybe deals with one of the giants. But I guess the Edwin is more valuable for Exigo than just losing the giant on board would be for Aku. Wow, there's just not many good options here.
No. The Hench Clan Burglar was a pretty decent draw for Exigo, as it gave him something to use with the Shark this turn, because all of his other turns were awkward, because he's not going to go ahead and clear off one of these giants. He's going to force akumaker to use another Conjurer's Calling. That way he can go ahead and get more value out of the Betrayal, because it will kill 2 minions over just 1 right now.
And two giants is 3 giants, so
2 equals 3.
Yeah, that's right. Somewhere out there, Maz is like really happy with my math right now. I don't know exactly what to expect from Aku other than like just building a bigger board, but like we said, maybe that's not the best option. It is still going to hurt, but I'm glad that we're watching akumaker clear the board instead of just go straight to face, because 29 is also 12.
I mean, the way Mage operates is there's just going to be a turn where it honestly doesn't matter what life total your opponent's at. Like, you're just going to have so much pressure, it's ridiculous.
Well, that's nice. The double taunts will at least keep his face safe, but the board is getting scarier and scarier. And actually, that means that you won't be able to use Betrayal to clear off 2 minions.
Yeah, you have to like couple it with something like your Backstab or your hero power.
Or your multi-shot, of course.
There we go.
You never expect that one coming out. Once again, pointing out kind of the same thing you did with the Sorcerer's Apprentice positioning. Now it makes that Betrayal a whole lot less valuable.
However, there is the possibility for...
Oh, I guess you can backstab that, though. So
Backstab,
never mind.
Betrayal, Walk the Plank. The issue is it's so awkward because you wanted at least one other Grave Horror to be a giant.
Yeah.
Because then you could, I believe, full clear. And right now, it's a bit of a struggle because the backstep has to go onto the Sorcerer's Apprentice. The Betrayal has to go onto the Grave Horror in the middle. You then walk the plank that one, and you can kill the other Grave Horror. Well, there's still an 8-1 Giant left that you cannot answer, and that does not feel good.
And also, that Giant is going to get Conjurer's Calling after it domes you for 8 damage. So, have fun with that one. We're going to see the best possible turn here maybe the second best possible turn here for Exigo. But like you said, it's still going to leave that Giant on the board, and you don't want to hit that with your face.
No, it feels really bad. And the worst part about this is you kind of have to go for this play, and then there's 2 Conjurer's Calling. It's not just one, because akumaker played it in a way that exigo knows that there are 2 Conjurer's Callings.
Yeah, here we go. Coming down, another Grave Horror, exactly like you'd want. The second Conjurer's Calling. Going to be 2 more Grave Horrors. What's so crazy is this card is not even a card that you include in any deck. And yet it's still so iconically a part of this matchup. Also, the stat line being 7-8 just works so it's just really amazing how all of this works together. This is maybe not even intended. I don't know how when the Hearthstone balance team's getting together, figuring out what we need to do to balance this. How deep do you have to go to think? Well, no, the Grave Horror is going to be the biggest part of the Mage deck.
I know, right?
Maybe.
The random 12 drop you get off, even though there's only 2, the 12 drop you get off your Conjurer's Calling on your Giant is going to be probably the most important thing in the aggro matchup for the Mage deck. That's so hard to look at in advance.
I wonder if there was a moment where Conjurer's Calling is well, maybe you just really need to get a hard removal on your opponent's minion, so you're not going to feel good about it, but maybe you can really get rid of it that way. I'm like, no, that's actually not the way it's ever going to be used.
I'm almost never using the card for that. It's just making bigger minions. Maybe if I need to clear like a 2020 Edwin, I'll consider it, but even then, I might just still Conjurer's Calling my Giant.
Yeah. Well, either way, I actually thought Exigo after that second game, especially because he switched from his primary to secondary deck, would have been able to have the options to deal with the board, but I think at least for me, it all came down to having to leave that 8-1 Giant on the board. It just feels so bad.
Yes, it feels awful. Sometimes just Mage has those starts where you get the Giant on board, your opponent doesn't have an answer, and the way akumaker played it was genius. He made sure that the turn he played the Giant was also the turn he could Conjurer's Calling by using the evocation to create it cheaper. So the reason doing that is because you're playing around Walk the Plank at that point. You play around the cards your opponent has.
Well, now we're heading off to a quick break. We'll be back with our second series of Hearthstone coming up next, so don't go anywhere.